exactly how what we're experiencing happens right
2,
now.
1.
I'll send you a link. It's worth seeing.
Mr. Derks.
Yeah. Hey, nice to see you again,
We're
man.
fist pumping now.
Uh-huh.
In July of 2020, can no longer shake hands, but you know what? It is what it is.
But if you want to, it's okay to go to a 20,000 person protest.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh man, that's a whole nother conversation, isn't it?
But don't touch my hand.
Yeah. So the first time you came on
Yeah.
was about 2 years ago, and we talked about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Yeah, blockchain, absolutely.
And that was like our second or third episode.
Yeah.
And you've taken a pivot, and you are running for Republican Missouri Congress.
U.S. Congress.
U.S. Congress.
Yeah, Washington, D.C.
And talk about the journey that you've been going through and how you've gotten into politics.
So I've been in investments and wealth management my whole career, 10 years. There was a window there where, and I still completely believe in blockchain and that technology, and it might have been when you and I were talking, but it worked out really well for about 9 or 10 months, and then the whole world found out. The prices went 20x and then crashed. And being on the bleeding edge of a technology here in the Midwest, especially Kansas City, it doesn't hit so well. So you know what? No harm, no foul. We returned all of our investors' money to them and kept moving. And so I still do traditional wealth management now. Nothing wrong with Bitcoin or blockchain, in my opinion. I think it's still going to be revolutionary, and it is right now. I could tell you some of the really crazy things happening right now. But the political angle of this, I was never really into politics up until college, and that's when Obama craze, hope and change really came across, and politics found me. I had a couple of my friends, because Obama came to Mizzou and did a big, beautiful Hollywood-like rally, and a lot of my friends immediately were on. So I kind of was like, something doesn't feel right here. And that's when I started reading more history, more economics, more philosophy, and I was like, no, I don't like the underpinnings of what he's trying to put out. So I've worked on political campaigns since I was 24. When I was 22, 23, I helped some school districts do a little lobbying for them in Jeff City. I worked on Ron Paul's 2012 presidential campaign. I was a delegate as well at the time for the presidential election. Then in 2017, I helped Austin Peterson on his U.S. Senate campaign.
So you've been dabbling for years.
Yeah, for sure, and paying very close attention. And just a lot of people are very skeptic, especially Republican. The Republican Party is just as corrupt as the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
No doubt.
For sure.
What happened to Ron Paul in 2012 is the same thing the Democrat Party did twice to Bernie Sanders. And, people be like, well, you get all your news from Fox. I haven't watched Fox News since 2012 because I watched them cover for that. So for 8 years.
And you don't have to get your news from the TV anymore.
No.
The truth is on the internet.
Yeah, it is.
There's also a lot of crazy on the internet,
Uh-huh.
but it's much more unfiltered.
Yeah, especially like what's going on in Portland right now. Citizen journalists are down there covering that, and you watch mainstream newspapers or mainstream cable news and you're not seeing the truth. That is not a peaceful at all by any means. So anyhow, that's kind of the last 10 years. Still doing wealth management right now until this day. Just trying to balance two things.
Not an easy thing to do, I'm sure.
No.
So when are the primaries or the...
Yeah, the primaries next week, exactly 1 week
wow.
from today, August 4th. There's 6 of us.
Okay.
Vying for the opportunity to go up against Emmanuel Cleaver.
Okay.
For the 3 months.
And where do you go vote if you want to go vote for you?
Well, need to be in Missouri. You need to be in the 5th district. So just type into Google, where's my voting place? It's super easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the core values and stances that you're running on?
I believe.
If you had to pick a top 3 or top 5.
Yeah, so there's 2, because first off, it's the foundational piece, and then it's the what's happening in 2020 piece. The foundational piece of this is, I've been fortunate. I've saved a lot of money in the past, and I've backpacked around the world a couple times. I have seen some suffering and some poverty that you and I just couldn't even imagine, having to live that day every day. The United States is without doubt the best thing that humans have ever created. And if you and I could ever travel in time, you would always want to travel in time today to this time in the United States. We have things that the wealthiest people 500 years ago, the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, couldn't hope for, right? And if you read things like the Federalist Papers, those are the essays and the op-eds that the founding fathers were writing during the Constitution. If you read If you read the logic behind the Bill of Rights, if you read some philosophy from like 1800s, you see that there's nothing as amazing as what America is, and I think it's worth fighting for. Now again, there's the Bill of Rights, this freedom of speech to protect yourself with your own a rifle or a gun if you want. These others, privacy, fast and speedy trial, all these things. There is, so that's the first part. All right, that's why I initially was into this. However, what's going on right now in America is we have this whole new mindset, and for people my age and younger who have spent a lot of time on the internet, this isn't a new idea. This cancel culture, political correctness, renaming things, censoring, self-censoring, all of this, that's not new. It's especially on the internet. If you remember, the first real big flash in the pan was about 6 or 7 years ago, Gamergate. Do you remember this?
No.
I won't go into it because I'm trying to be concise here. But where we are right now is a time when, to tell the truth, will get you, somebody will try to hunt you down and get you fired from your job, ruin your life, maybe even attack you in the street. In fact, I was at a Black Lives Matter protest over the weekend down in Westport, and I simply was just saying, what do you want? Like, what are you guys protesting? What do you... And the guy says, we want to abolish the police, we want to abolish capitalism, and we want to abolish whiteness. And that's what we're fighting for. I don't think that this is a Republican versus Democrat. I am running on the Republican Party, and I'll be very straightforward. I'm running to support President Trump and protecting Americans. I'm not running to be part of the Dick Cheney, John McCain, Mitt Romney Republican Party. That thing was corrupt to the core. And same with the Democrat Party. I genuinely think that this 2020 is going to be a good Americana, honesty, truth, logic, reasoning, faith, versus truth is a tool to use in the moment as you're trying to accumulate power. For example, look at this virus. This virus explodes onto the scene, and even though conservatives are nervous about it because of our civil liberties, we went along with it, right? I did. I'm sure you did. You know what? We're on uncharted territories. Yeah. We'll lock down for 30 days, and then we'll see where we are in 30 days. Okay, cool. So we're doing it, and then, okay, data's coming in, and it's like, well, maybe, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. But, okay, we'll go week by week. And then, boom, the George Floyd thing happens, and millions of people are out protesting. And here all the conservatives are saying, wait a second, we were told we're not allowed to go outside because we're in a global pandemic. But now we've got millions and millions of such hypocrisy. And this, like in Portland, I think Portland's on day 56 or 57 right now of thousands and thousands. There is a movement in America right now, and I think you actually wanted to talk about it in a little while, but that has co-opted a lot of Americans' brains, that America was never great, that America needs to be burnt to the ground, that all the foundational institutions like courts and jails and business, it doesn't matter what the business is, need to be all burned down and retooled. So that's what this is about. I said, this is not Republican versus Democrat.
No, it's. I think that's. It's easy to do that, and I think, I've always felt, like financially and business wise, I felt conservative, but that doesn't make me like a vouch, supporter of the Republican Party, but I have conservative values. I think most people do. Once you start paying taxes and you start raising a family, and you're like, okay, I want less government in my life. But there's just been, and I don't know if it's our generation, the 30s and the 20-year-olds, but there's this anti-capitalism, this big progressive communist socialist movement, and it pains me to see, because I think capitalism to where, if you're, I'll just pick on big oil because I think it's easy to. If you pump the earth, all the oil and resources out of the earth, there's only a finite amount of resources. Capitalism is not good in that situation. It needs boundaries. But if we're trying to run a business here, and we're trying, it could be a handful of people that work for this business, and we're providing support and financial support for their family and their kids to grow and have things and go to a good school, that's good capitalism. But now you have all all capitalism is bad in America.
Yeah.
That we've been built, that we're building all this on, and that we need a utopian, everything is equal type of society. I guess my question is, how did we get to where those are the talking points and those are the misconceptions?
Because it's easy. Because do you guys? Okay, we're all the same age. Do you guys remember when we were in elementary school? We're all here in the same area, so I'm assuming we had the same textbooks. Your teacher would say, "Hey, here's your homework, and the end of chapter this, do questions 1 through 5, and then do critical thinking questions 1, 2, and 3." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And if you remember, critical thinking question, I hated them because it was a paragraph or two, and then it would make you defend and go back and forth explaining your thoughts and your logic, right? There's no critical thinking today.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
It's all emotion.
It's all emotion. It's very quick, sound bites, and I could, like that term fake news. Fake news is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just did an episode today that I just put out. Do you remember about 4 or 5 weeks ago that Trump knew that Russia was putting bounties on the head of American troops and paying Afghanis?
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing was debunked in 3 or 4 weeks. Everybody. Russia said nothing that wasn't true. Afghans said that wasn't true. The Trump administration and the military, all of them said, we have no evidence that that's true.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I personally cannot talk and put this out on the internet how I feel about movements that are going currently or current events.
Yeah.
I can't talk about my opinion on it because potentially be attacked by people online. Yeah. Our business would be attacked. Family members will be attacked. That's crazy.
Right. Well, and this all goes back to when we were kids. Like, they took away dodgeball. They took away counting scores at sports. Everybody gets participation trophies. That helicopter, that whole thing, mixed with, and this is one of the core issues today that nobody will talk about. Broken families and fatherless homes are one of the biggest core problems in America right now. That's
number one. And with the current social, economic issues about equality and having all these things, it's about having good core family values.
That's the biggest privilege. I heard, we were talking about Pete Mundo about a month ago. I heard him say at an event, he said, people talk about privilege and all this. You could give me a poor immigrant family from wherever, I don't care. You give me the lowest rung, the most unprivileged family as far as the left would describe them. But if the mom and the dad are married and they have values, I will take that family over a rich, divorced family, white family in the suburbs any day.
And what makes me...
And it's true.
Yeah, what makes me bang my head against the wall is why do people think the government is the substitute for the lack thereof that? The government is not the answer to fill that void.
But it is if you're progressive. And that's the idea that's been pushed now for over 100 years. Woodrow Wilson, our president of the early 1900s, was the most outspoken progressive, one of the first most outspoken progressive presidents we had. And right there, central planning. There are people who, and this isn't a new idea in America, it's been going on in Europe for many years, way before America, where the intelligent class knows better than the poor, disheveled class, and they can plan every industry better than you can for you, including your family. And that's just not the case. And now we have systems built in America where you're actually incentivized, if you're a family, a single family, to remain single. All the different welfare benefits and these types of things for broken homes.
What do you think happens? I feel like there's got to be a breaking point. And sometimes if you go online, you can see, if you read comments, you can see, you feel like things are swaying, opinions are swaying from one end to the other. What do you think? Obviously, a lot is going to come down to this election. Yeah. And I guess, okay, couple questions. Who do you think is going to win the presidential election? Yeah. If what will happen? Socially, if the other candidate wins, what will happen socially, and then also what will happen economically?
I don't know who's going to win. I think Trump will win, but I don't think he has it won as we sit here today. I think it will be close. I'm telling you right now, if this mail-in voting thing happens, whoever wins, it's going to be a contested presidency. it doesn't, if we all mail our votes in, it doesn't matter if they were perfect and every single mail-in vote was counted. And it also doesn't matter if Joe Biden or Donald Trump wins or Joe Jorgensen, the libertarian, wins. Half the country's going to think, I don't trust those results. Yeah. It's going to cause more division. I don't know.
The U.S. Postal Service is one of the most corrupt agencies in the country. Most people don't know that.
Well, I didn't know that.
They have internal folks that are known to see $50 bills and open them up and steal them. Well, notice how every person you ever talk to has had something missing from the mail.
Yeah, right. Well, a local news station, you can type it into YouTube. It was just published about a week or so ago. A local news station in America did an experiment. And they did, I think it was 3 sets of 100 pieces of mail. And they mailed them from different locations across the city to their same address, doing a little small petri dish of mail-in voting to the central tally. And what they found after the whole thing was done, that roughly 3% of the votes weren't counted. In America, 3% is enough to sway the election massively. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be chaos either way. Whatever happens, well, let's say this. Let's say President Trump does win. We're going to see another huge, just like last time. Just like exactly like last time. Why wouldn't they come out and protest it again? Sure. If Joe Biden does win, do you think he's gonna say like, hey, you guys really need to stop that? He's already encouraging it, and his Democrat Party right now, like Jerry Nadler yesterday was saying that what's happening in Portland is a myth that only circulates in Washington, D.C. They're saying it's peaceful. It's not. So I don't think these protests are gonna stop very soon. Mm-hmm. As far as economically goes, man, that's the $1 million question. We cannot survive what we're doing right now. We've increased the money, and this is one of my, again, this is why I love blockchain. This is what initially turned me on to politics, the economic side of it, the Federal Reserve, the monetary, the balanced budgets, the spending, the money going everywhere. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. We're not going to survive if we don't get that figured out. First off, we've got to stop the spending. We have to stop sending. We've got 40, 50 million Americans unemployed right now. Why are we sending any country foreign aid? Mm-hmm. Our military budget takes up about 50% of our budget. I love the military. I love the troops, but I want a strong defense. We don't need an offense right now. Mm-hmm. Who's the enemy, Peyton? Mm-hmm. Who's the enemy? No one in Libya ever did anything to me.
Cyber is probably the biggest enemy now.
Yeah, and it's China. The last 3 years is absolutely exposed. China's the biggest enemy, not Afghanistan. Who's in Afghanistan? Some goat hoarder? Mm-hmm. All of their major industries have already been destroyed for 19 solid years. Pull them all back. Bring them back. I think there's 193 countries in our world, and we have active troops or bases in 140 of those 193. Mm-hmm. Shut them down. Mm-hmm. Bring the troops home. Put that money back into America. Stop the spending. Balance a budget. Audit the Fed, and then end it, and take the responsibilities of money back to America, back to the Treasury, excuse me. Yeah. Because anyone who actually looks in and reads the history and understands how the Fed works and how the Fed was started knows that the whole thing is corrupt from the bottom to the top. So what you say is the economic thing. I don't know. Have you seen the price of gold? The price of gold is outperforming every asset class this year right now. Mm-hmm. I want to say it's up like 30% year to date. Wow. And for people who aren't very familiar, the price of gold, when it goes up, it's not that the price of gold is going up, it's that the value of the dollar is going down.
Gotcha.
And we increased the money supply. What we had, $20 trillion or so in debt before the virus. Now we've got, like 26 trillion, 25 trillion. Yeah. They're talking about another bailout right now, which is going to increase to like 29. We're going to be at 30 trillion. George Bush, but I should say this, during Obama's 8 years, we increased the debt by about 80%. And this is one thing I do disagree with Trump on. We've gone from like 19 to 20 trillion when he got here. It's like 26 now, 27, whatever it is. And we're about to get near 30s, what they're estimating. I don't agree with that at all. I cannot stand that because I don't care if you're liberal, conservative, rich, poor, gay, straight, black, white, that hurts everybody equally. Mm-hmm. So this economic thing, I don't know how we get out of it. Yeah. How do you follow that very closely? No, I don't know how we unwind it.
It's scary. It's hard to even comprehend that number.
Yeah.
And no one we just keep spending money and the world keeps turning, and then it almost feels like it's fictitious. Like the 30 trillion. Like who
Yeah.
we owe the $30 trillion to?
Yeah, what is 30 trillion?
If we owe it to another country, we can just tell them to F off and we don't need to pay it, right? And then we've never experienced inflation in our lifetimes.
We have.
When?
Like right now, when we were in college.
But the dollar's still one of the strongest currencies in the country.
No.
In the world.
Only because we have the strongest military and we peg it to the price of oil.
Right.
When we were in...
But I'm talking about a situation like Greece.
No, we have.
Okay, we have not had a situation where in Greece, literally overnight, their currency got devalued by like 300%.
Now that's true. We're not like the Turkish lira. We're not like the... Well, I guess in Greece, that was also they're tied to the euro. But regardless, I know what you mean. But we absolutely are experiencing inflation. And this is partially why I can completely empathize with these young kids our age who want socialism. When we were in our early 20s, McDonald's came out with the dollar menu, right? What happened to that dollar menu? They took that thing away like 9 years later. Why? Because nothing is $1 on there anymore.
Yep.
The price went up on everything.
Sure.
And this is why rent keeps going up, groceries keep going up, fuel keeps going up, the cost of assets, so stocks keep going up, houses keep going up.
Yeah.
And
so we just covered like 100 different topics.
Yeah.
How do you stay focused politically on, okay, we're just going to start with these core values.
Yeah.
And you only have a couple years to try to tackle them.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I think that Trump's administration and a lot of the people who are up there, like Josh Hawley, like Matt Gaetz, like Rand Paul, like Thomas Massey, I don't have to be one all. Rand Paul's focusing on the Fed. Thomas Massey is focusing on the ag industry. Everybody has their own little thing up. Yeah, Matt Gaetz is doing a lot of like intelligence stuff, Fourth Amendment type stuff. You can go up there and make alliances, right, with these people. And that's what we need. We need people who love the country that are willing to go up there and just be like, no, I'm not going to BS. I'm not going to play your game. And I really am not going up there to make friends. I would gladly go up there and stir the pot if it means getting the country to talk about why it is that China and Brazil own almost over 50% of the ag and cattle ranching industry. You walk through a grocery store, you see anything from Farmland, Smithfield, Angus Choice, those are some of the biggest. Those are all China.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, you again go to the Fed, talk that. Anyway, you're right. There are a lot of issues. There's a ton, but that's another core thing about this campaign is I feel like our generation has taken so much from America, and part of America is you don't get to just take. You have to give back, and yeah, you can donate money here. Yeah, you can volunteer a little bit here, but part of that's also civically, and I feel like our generation has been one of the most privileged generations, taken more than anyone ever before. And at the same time, we have to answer a call, one of the biggest calls of responsibility for the future of our country than ever before. So that's part of this campaign is I plan on taking so much more from America over the next 40 or 50 years, however long I am. But right now, we got to put that stuff on pause because if we continue fighting each other, if we continue allowing people to destroy our cities and not telling the truth, if these people at these protests like last weekend, and there's 2 more of them this weekend, I'll be live streaming on my Facebook page. If we keep pandering to this idea of abolish whiteness or abolish capitalism, we're all done. There will be no more like, well, I'm liberal, I'm Democrat, well, I'm Republican. No. We'll be, I've got a friend from Hungary. He's like our parents' age, and he was conscripted to the Soviet army, and he would tell me, Ryan, this thing falls, at least I had somewhere to go. We had America to escape to. If America falls, we got nowhere to go.
Yeah. Perspective.
Right.
We need more perspective.
Yeah, and we need more young people like you and I to like stand up and not allow blatant lies to govern our life and the lives of our communities.
Well, you're going to have much more impact on it than I will.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You'd be surprised, man. Peyton, I'm telling you, one of the things I do every Saturday for the last couple months is go pick up 1 bag of trash. And it's like, do I love it? No, I hate it. It's hot and humid, and I'm picking up dirty diapers and trash. But if that starts spreading and everyone in Kansas City was to do one little thing like that, boom, the whole place is better.
Yeah.
I got a tweet a week and a half ago from a guy, because I put this on all my social every Saturday, and I say, hey, you go pick up your one bag of trash and post the photos in the comments, build this little community. This guy who's homeless on Twitter takes a photo of himself with his bag of trash and says, I may be homeless, but that's something I can do.
Wow. That's powerful. That's awesome.
Or I could just go to a protest and be like, abolish whiteness, abolish capitalism, burn down the plaza.
It's such a cop-out. It's so easy to do that. You should go actually do something that takes a little bit of effort.
Yeah, go to Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
Mentor a young kid.
Volunteer, go to the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
We try to do that once a month. We go to the soup kitchen or we go to Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
And it's literally the least we can do. And we could do more and hope we could do more one day.
Yes.
But it's so much better than donating money. Go just donate your time.
Right. That's why I say, man, we come from one of the most privileged generations ever. We got to start giving back, and it can't just be putting a Black Lives Matter sign in my front yard.
Yep.
It can't be shaming someone on Facebook because they said I'm going to vote for President Trump.
Yeah.
That's so lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just skimmed the surface there.
Yeah, I know, man.
But I really appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure having you. I'm sure we'll do this again. Is there any kind of closing statements you want to put out there?
Yeah, well, first off, obviously the primary is in 7 days, so check that out, everyone in Missouri. Go to RyanDerks.com, and you'll see I'm super active on Facebook. That's where I've got a really active community. I'm on all the pages, but if you go to RyanDerks.com, it's right there in the front. You can't miss it. Any closing things? Yeah, of course. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Whatever happens in November, our generation is going to have a massive burden to shoulder. And we can continue fighting and we can continue lying, or we can just call it like it is and say this is messed up. This virus, turns out the data is clear. It's not as bad as it was. This Black Lives Matter thing, yeah, of course all lives matter, and that includes Black lives, but the Black Lives Incorporated, that is an absolute fraud. The things coming up with dividing people by race, by gender, by ethnicity, by wealth, by sexual orientation, that does not help anything. And that's one of the things I say in this campaign. I don't care if you're gay, straight, rich, poor, black, white, tall, short, ugly, beautiful. As long as you believe in the fundamental foundings of our country and Western civilization, in truth, honesty, logic, reasoning, free speech, faith, then we can get along and we can start making progress.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's happening right now is just pure divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So
so that'd
be a few of the ending things. But check out RyanDerks.com and send me an email, even if it's hate mail, because I get it plenty. So I don't mind. I in fact, I'll say this one last thing is I get an email or a private message almost every week from people who say I've voted Democrat my whole life and I'll never vote Democrat again. So a lot of people are silent. That silent majority thing, right? Can't do it anymore. You got to stand up and speak out loud. So I'll kind of leave it there since we're trying to hit a hard stop.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, sir.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.